Let's make these app icons horror theme. Let's start with the Google Files app icon. First, I'll color the colors of this icon in shades of gray. Then I'll add shadows, as you can see. Next, I'll make the corners of the icon look like they're stained with blood. You can see that it's a bit horror-like. Next, I'll use a brush to draw blood stains on the icon. Then more horror. Finally, I've created the horror version of the Google Files app icon, making the TerraBox app icon look scary. Then I brush the background of this icon with a dark red color. Then I add shadows around the icon. Then I add a horror hand and make it look like this. Wait. Then I bring a horror face and place it in the box of the icon as if it is looking forward. Now you can see that a ghost is peeking from inside the box. This increases the horror feel a little. Then I add shadows. Then I make the horror hand so that blood escapes, which increases the horror feel. Then I make the box of the icon look like it is cracked. Then I add shadows around the box of the icon. I made it so that more blood is spilled. Then I put a corpse in the middle of the box like this. I added a logo on the head. Finally, I added blood drops like this. Now I converted the TerraBox icon to the horror version. In this video, the CC Cleaner app icon is also will be make into a horror icon. The next app icon is the Play Store. First, I make the colors of the app a little darker, and I make this blue part gray. That will make horror colors. Then I reduce the brightness and I put a crack, make it red. I add shadows to make it look 3D, and then the horror happens because I add a horror hand so that a hand comes out of that crack. Then I use the brush tool to make it look like the hand comes out of that crack. Then I add shadows to the fingers of the horror hand to make it a little more realistic. Then I draw cracks where the nails hit the fingers. Next, I do this to these lines with the brush tool. To give it a bit of a horror feel, I'll use the brush tool to draw blood on the corners of this icon. Next, I'll spray blood on this icon. Then I'll add shadows. Finally, here's the horror version of the Play Store icon. Now I'm making a sketchbook app icon in horror style. I painted the entire icon in gray. Then I added shadows. Next, I chose a bone pencil instead of the pencil icon to give a horror feel. There are a lot of pencils like this on Google. Then I added shadows. Next, I drew blood to give a horror feel. Then I added the emoji effect to make the blood drops realistic. Next, I drew red colors on the bone pencil. In places, I drew blood stains with a brush. That was also a little realistic. Again, I created some blood stains around the icon to give it a more horror feel. I also added shadows and emoji effects to make it realistic. You can see. Then I added blood drops to the icon. Finally, you can see the horror version of the sketchbook icon. Now I'm going to turn the CC Cleaner app icon into a horror version. First, black to the background. Then I'm going to add dark red to the letter C. I'm going to add shadows. Then I'm going to make it look like there's a spider web in the middle of the letter C. That's going to give it a more horror feel. You can see it. Then I'm going to make the two corners of the letter C look like spikes. Add gray to the handle of this broom. Now I'm going to add red to the broom to give it a horror feel. Then I'm going to add shadows like this in red. Then I'm going to draw blood dripping from the end of the broom with a red brush. That's going to give it a horror feel. Now I'm going to make those blood drops realistic. I'll draw some more blood drops. Then I'll draw spider webs in the corners of the icon to give it a more horror feel. Then I'll add dust and blood drops here and there to give the icon a horror feel. Finally, I'll draw cracks in the letter C. That's extra horror. Finally, I've turned the CC Cleaner app icon into a horror version. Next, the Amazon shopping icon. First, I darkened the background. Then I rotated the happy mouth to look unhappy, which gives it a little horror feel. Then I drew blood drops around the app icon. Files in the icon to red. Then I added shadows around the app, as you can see. Finally, I added blood drops to the icon. Finally, I made the Amazon shopping app icon horror. All the app icons are finished. Comment your favorite app icon. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch more design videos and subscribe to stay with me.